Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Clio Talk. My name is Matt,
And I'm RC.
and we have a long bill of Kansas City related stuff to talk about today, but I'm going to use this to complain a little bit about the American healthcare system.
Oh boy.
My doctor told me we were going to do another script for one of the medications I need. And
Yeah.
then I get a call from the pharmacy, and it's a completely different prescription, and they just changed my prescription without telling me.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I didn't, and it also costs more.
Oh,
So-
they know better than your doctor, right?
Well, no. The doctor changed it.
Oh, the doctor
The-
changed
and
it, not the
didn't-
insurance company?
No. Well, I don't know how this happened at all. I'm not sure if the doctor changed it for the insurance company or whatever. But I now have a different medication that does the thing it's supposed to do worse, and it costs more money.
See, I get that. I think my fiance at one point had that problem where she was getting some medication or something, and like they needed a clearance from like a doctor's note to be like, hey, you need this medication. And it's like, okay, insurance company who isn't my doctor, you need my doctor who wrote the prescription to write you a note telling them that, yes, I did write this prescription.
Isn't that a prescription? Is that the doctor saying?
Yeah, but it's just like, well, we need to make sure that you actually need this. It's like they're going to suddenly be like, no, you don't need this medication. I was just joking. It's okay.
Man, I remember, I think it was a few years ago, I went to the dentist and I had to get a filling. And
Ugh.
my dental insurance company said that it wasn't medically necessary
Really?
to get the filling.
Well, it's okay because teeth aren't healthcare, right?
No,
Teeth
well,
are...
I have the special, at the time I had the special tiered healthcare system, which allowed me to have my teeth be healthcare.
Yeah.
But when there's something that costs a lot of money, like getting a filling, that's not medically necessary.
Which it's like you pay for the insurance. So you'd figure that once you actually need to finally use it, they'd be like, well, you've been paying this for 8 months and you're finally using it. Like, at this point, you haven't used it up until now. So yeah, well, sure, we'll pay. That's what you're paying us for. But then they fight tooth and nail to not do the service that you're paying them for.
But
It's almost like it costs money.
But speaking of healthcare, do you see that Eli Lilly is now capping insulin at $35?
Yes, and I am confused on two parts. One, is it because of the guy who imitated them on Twitter and tweeted out that they were making insulin free? Is it because of that guy? Because I've seen the usual suspects on Twitter being like, we'll both like, thanks Trump and thanks Biden or whatever. And it's just like, I don't know. Like the Inflation Reduction Act mentioned insulin. I don't know, but it's like I like to believe it was that guy.
I want to believe it's that guy too, even though I think that with Medicare and Medicaid, it's capped at $35 for like seniors now.
Yeah.
So maybe like after they took the stock hit after the tweet, which did happen, that they're just like, screw it, let's just get the PR and make some money out of this.
I mean, they got to make a lot of money off of how much they mark up insulin, but it can't be that big of a portion of their profits, right? Because I think even at 35, they're still making money.
Yeah.
Because I think it only costs like $1 to manufacture.
Yeah. And
Something like that.
And like the entire like healthcare thing, thinking about it, I remember like seeing the stuff when Purdue Pharma was in the middle of trying to like push like OxyContin on a bunch of people, and they like basically had like sales rep meetings where they gave away like vacations and stuff and really just pushed like sell.
Yeah.
And it's just like all of these like, insulin doesn't need to be thousands of dollars, or OxyContin doesn't need to, be pushed on
Be
literally
prescribed
everyone.
for everything.
Yeah.
Well, it's addictive,
Well, I mean, I don't.
What if we just prescribe people meth and just like, hey, you got a toothache here, take this meth, get addicted to it, and keep buying it from us.
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
On a side note, did you see the student loan? We're completely dating this podcast. Too many current events. Did you see the student loan thing got to a Supreme Court hearing today?
I saw that, yeah. And I saw that Bernie Sanders was outside trying to campaign in for it. I'm going to be a negative downer, and I think that they're going to strike it down.
Here's what I'll say. I think that they're going to strike it down too. I don't think that they have any grounds to, though, because this isn't executive. I read the law that they're arguing this off of, and this isn't executive overreach. This is a law that was passed in 2003 that explicitly states, with no stipulations, that if you're in a disaster area or a national emergency, if you're within that area, the Department of Education has the ability to basically do whatever they want with your loans, right? They can comp them, they can do whatever, because you live in a national emergency area.
Yeah.
And President Trump declared the entire United States to be a national emergency area and a disaster area back in 2020.
Yeah.
And it seems pretty cut and dry.
Is that still going? The national emergency?
I think so. I think it doesn't expire until May. And this ruling was issued back. I mean, this was back in December, I think, when Biden was trying to put this through. So I think the fact that the case isn't going to be decided until probably January or July doesn't really have that much forbearance on when the case was actually being argued over, when the forgiveness would have gone through.
Wasn't one of the people suing? They were suing because it was like discriminatory because people who got Pell got more money. Was that one of the arguments?
Yes, it was. They didn't take out a Pell Grant, but people who did got an additional 10 grand. Yeah, that's one of them. I think the one from Missouri was doing that, but I think what the Biden administration's lawyers were arguing, I guess the Attorney General's office or something, they were arguing that, well, the PPP loans were only given out to people who own businesses, right? They weren't given out to every single individual. So those were also discriminatory, right?
Yeah.
They were like, they were arguing that's just kind of the nature of these things. Is like the $1,000 stimulus checks or $2,000 stimulus checks, those weren't given out to college students. That's discriminatory, right?
Or wasn't given out if you made like over $120,000.
Yeah, exactly. I think their point was just federal policy by definition has to be, especially when it's like loan forgiveness or like the tax code is discriminatory, right?
Yeah,
by that argument.
But income's not a protected class.
Exactly. That's why it doesn't really work, is because it's like, it's discriminatory, but it's legal discrimination because just you make money. Like that's not a protected class in the United States. It doesn't really have any ground. The other one, I think, I don't actually remember what the second person was suing for. I'm just really disappointed. And I don't understand how Kansas is involved in this, because you'd think that Laura Kelly would have vetoed it. Like, I'm sure that she got overridden by like the AG or something, but you'd figure.
Well, does this have anything to do with the current AG of Kansas?
Yeah, probably. That's my guess.
Yeah, and
the AG in both houses.
Does Laura Kelly have the ability to have any oversight, especially with the way that the Republicans have kind of control of it?
I tried. I couldn't find anything about that. I couldn't find anything about. All I could find was articles saying Kansas was involved, but I couldn't find any vote we had or any statement by like the Attorney General's office. But what I can say is I just remembered the other one. It was the Missouri Department of Education has their own loan program, so they're suing.
Well, I mean, that makes sense, because I'm not sure if you've received the letters, but my loans were given through the state of Missouri. Yeah,
which I think that they're the only one that has a ground to stand on,
because they're going to basically like have an issue with all of the stuff that Missouri's funded through.
Yeah, because they're counting on income, but that also shouldn't mean the entire forgiveness program should be like stopped. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
right?
Just because my loans are through the state of Missouri doesn't mean someone in New York or California should.
Yeah, exactly.
Be screwed over.
I mean, this policy is, I think, for covering probably close to like, I'm just gonna completely guess, but like probably close to like 100, like not 100, like 70 million people, 60 million people, or whatever.
Yeah.
So just like 1 million, 2 million people in Missouri shouldn't cause the cancel. It doesn't make any sense. It just straight up doesn't.
And the thing that also, like, the PPP thing is the thing that gets me like really like revved up, because I see, like people who, people did get charged if they abused it. Like the guy who bought a Lamborghini, he got charges, but there's a bunch of people who did similar things who have not completely gotten away with it, including, people who just had an LLC.
Well, a bunch of Congress people. Yeah. I mean, quite frankly, dear listener, this podcast probably could have applied for a PPP loan in 2020, and we probably would have gotten it, and we probably should have done it, because apparently there's no penalty for it.
Yeah, like we could have said we need $100,000 to be able to like continue paying us, even though we don't get paid from this. This is a hobby.
We can just make our own salary. It's just it was such a. I mean, I guess the idea behind it was good, where it's just helping people pay their employees, so you don't have mass layoffs because all the businesses shut down. It was just handled so poorly.
But there were already mass layoffs because of
it didn't
COVID.
stop anyone. I mean, because there was no. I mean, as I remember it, companies just took the loans and then laid off people anyways, and just took it as profit. Which it's such a boondoggle in terms of the way it was handled. But then it just being highlighted against this, where it's like people just asking not $1 million loan from like a $5 billion pot. It's just asking for 10 grand off because. And the argument that the states are also trying to make in regards to this is that they can't prove that anyone was actually damaged by the national disaster, right? Even though that's not actually a requirement of the law, which I read the law. It's not a requirement of the law. It's either you have to prove that they were damaged or that they were within the national emergency area. So they're two separate clauses, but they're basically arguing, well, you have to prove both, which isn't the case. But even so, people got laid off. I mean, people who graduated in 2020 into a severely reduced job market and economy were financially affected, whether or not they had a job yet.
Not to mention that completely restructured the way that most jobs work anyway.
Yeah.
So like almost everyone in the workforce, actually literally everyone in the workforce had to adapt to changes one way or another that were different and had impacts on their careers.
Yeah. And just the argument of not being affected. It's like people who took out, say, a $50,000 loan to get a job in, name it, 4 years ago could not know that the COVID pandemic was going to happen in 2020, right? If you go into college in 2016, you had literally no way. There's no like, oh, you should have gone to trade school. It's just straight up, this is a complete and unavoidable. There was no way for them to know.
And if you have, 50 grand in student loan debt, there's people out there who have hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loan debts. Mm-hmm. 10 grand means very little to them in the grand scheme of things, when you especially look at, the fact that there's a bunch of, churches, including Catholic churches, who got hundreds of thousands of dollars in PPP loans.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I don't know if you have anything else, but the last point I'll make on this is just student loan payments have been paused since 2020 and the economy hasn't collapsed. Nobody who's not an idiot has been making payments on them for almost 3 years now, and it hasn't affected the economy in any major way because it's like probably a rounding error in the federal budget, getting money back from those.
And if you have been paying off your student loan, if you're one of those few people who are like, I'm going to be super responsible and pay it off when it's paused, and you happen to pay it off, you can still apply like the refund. You would get
the
10
forgiveness
grand back.
program,
Yeah, so it isn't like they're waiving 10 grand and like, oh, you spent 10 grand to pay off your loans. Well, too bad. No, you'll get that 10 grand back.
Yeah.
So even if you did pay it off, you're getting, if you paid out, made a payment at all during the pause, you're getting 10 grand just back to you that's how it's supposed to work. You get 10 grand back to you, which is, I think, is extremely fair based off the situation. Now, do I think that Biden should go full Hadrian, go to the Department of Education and literally burn all of the documents so no one can ever figure out how much money is owed?
The Federal Records Act. Well, quite frankly, if this fails, if this, I guess, when the Supreme Court strikes down, because I'm just assuming it will be. I mean, the law hasn't been challenged. The law is very clearly constitutional. Yeah. The Department of Education issues these loans. The loans are handled through the Department of Education. Other than the one unique case in Missouri, they have every single right to manage the loans that they issue, including forgiveness. It's just nonsensical to me. You can just pause it until like 2024 at least. I mean.
Well, if the court strikes it down, one that makes the Supreme Court look even more sectarian and political than it's already started to look like that. But your final nail in the coffin when it comes to like the political actions of the Supreme Court, and also that opens up the can of worms for all financial income discrimination cases.
Yeah, I mean, that would set the precedent if this guy wins that. Yeah, any kind of tax-based discrimination, any kind of financial discrimination by the United States would be up for grabs too, like you said. I mean, like, I think the PPP loan forgiveness would be a good case of the people in jail right now, where it's like, wait, these people had theirs written off, and I'm in jail for fraud.
Yeah.
What what? Huh?
Yeah. Or if they then had to make everyone who had PPP loans pay their loans back and the forgiveness is reversed, the amount of like absolute just like panic amongst these people would be insane. Just as much as the panic when people like, I filled out that application for student loan forgiveness when it first happened, when it came out in like October or November when the website went live. But like, you know, the like excitement with these loans being forgiven was really high, and then it was just basically completely crushed.
It's like it finally felt like something positive was happening. Like it finally felt like the younger generations who, I don't know how old you are if you're listening to this, but the cost of college is a lot more expensive, even accounting for inflation, than it was 30 years ago.
The cost of living in general is way above.
I mean, and if you're on the right side of this and you critique the Biden administration for inflation and stuff, it's like, okay, yeah, that's great. But that also proves inflation is high. Thereby, the cost of everything is high. Thereby, if we give the people coming out of college into the workforce 10 grand, and it's not even 10 grand in your pocket, it's just 10 grand you don't owe anymore.
Yeah.
That just seems like the prudent step, where it's like, hey, here you young people, have a slight head start in life. It's not like we're writing a check for like $100,000. It's just, here, you owe less money now.
Yeah. Well, and also along with the program is it did cap it to like 5% of your income for payments or whatever, which allows you to have more disposable income, which helps the economy.
And I think, and I think this has already been a policy in place in terms of student loan forgiveness. If you work like, I think in education and stuff like that, it's like 10% cap down to 5%, like you said. And then you only, once you've made like 120 payments, then you can just have it all written off.
Yeah.
So that's already a policy in place.
And you can even work for a nonprofit for 10 years and then have it completely written off as well.
Which, why would educators need to have all their debt written off? Oh yeah, because they can't afford it, because it's way too expensive to go get a bachelor's and then become an educator. Like it's just, you can't afford it. It's gone so high that it's just completely unaffordable at this point. I mean, we're going to see the death of the teaching industry in the United States if this doesn't change. Like, seriously, if we stop paying them more, if we stop giving them raises, and we also don't give them any kind of debt relief to going to college to get the degrees that are required to become a teacher, nobody's going to, anybody who looks at it in high school and does the math is just going to realize, wait a second, I'm going to take 40 years to pay off this loan. Like,
or
they're not going to
pay it off at all if they don't get burnt out. Because I have friends from school who are now teachers, and they've only been in the education field for a few years now, and they are still they're getting burnt out. Yeah, because it's not, you can't have a life as this, and it's also like there's no support. Parents are against you as the educator, and you're getting every single, like, you can't have a lesson plan because there's a chance that the parents are going to nitpick it and pick it apart because they think that what you're teaching them is critical race theory, even though you're just trying to teach the kid how to read above a 5th grade level.
Yeah, it's the militancy against just like teaching, and it's the militancy against the idea of going to college, where like, oh, just go to trade school. It's like, okay. And I always like taking that to the logical conclusion of, okay, everybody has no longer gone to college, right? Everybody stopped going to college because it's dumb, and they all went to a trade school. And now there's 4 million plumbers in New York City, and now the plumbing profession does not make any money at all, because everybody knows how to plumb now. Yeah. Great. Now there's no plumbers. Now you're in the same boat where you went and got a useless degree. Sorry, your trade school degree is useless. Nobody needs to plumb anymore. It's stupid because and that's the problem with education, is it's not it's dumb, don't go to college. It's just, well, a lot of people are going to college, so the value of the degree is being lessened because there's more people that have it, which isn't a bad thing because it's education. It's just when the debt doesn't go down, when the cost of college goes up despite the value of the degree going down.
And so the issue is that there's a massive lack of workers in the United States in general, from trade workers to people that work McDonald's to people that work office jobs. And I know just as much as you probably experienced this and I experienced this, we have white collar jobs that have staffing issues,
Yeah.
And I know people who work blue collar jobs who have staffing issues
Yeah.
because we killed 1 million Americans with COVID, and another 5 or 6 million took an early retirement, and
Yeah.
we aren't having children to replace these workforces, and we're so anti-immigration that we have no way to fill these workforces. So there's, like, you can say, oh, you go to trade school, but the point you made is if we have a bunch of people go to trade school, there isn't enough people to go around to fill all the jobs the United States needs without shrinking its economy or increasing the amount of people in. And the only way that the United States can increase the amount of people in is to allow more immigration.
And the broader problem with incentives is just, like nobody wants to be a teacher because, pay raise, that's the incentive, right? Like pay raise. So people asking for a higher minimum wage or just to be paid more in general. It's like, that's the incentive for people to work those jobs. It's not like, oh, McDonald's workers shouldn't be paid more. It's just nobody wants to work at McDonald's because it's a terrible, like you get paid $7 an hour or whatever. So they're just like, hey,
easy.
If you pay us more, then people will actually be incentivized to work there, and then McDonald's will be able to stay open and we won't have staffing shortages, you know? But that seems to have gone out the window as just
in the sake of profit.
It's the militancy against the people actually working the jobs where they're just portrayed as greedy or something. But then that's where you get all the labor issues where it's like we could solve the teaching problem in the United States if you just gave them all like a $20,000 raise, then more people would want to do it. But But it's time like these I just say thank God we're not the United Kingdom.
Yeah, I am very happy that my power bill's only like $100.
Yeah, because at least we're having the same issues as them, but ours are a lot less bad.
Yeah. Woohoo. But another issue that is plaguing our great city of Kansas City are the gender-neutral bathrooms in the airport.
Oh, yeah.
There has been some complaints because we have a new airport. If you listen to any of our previous episodes, we talk about it a lot.
If you've listened to the Kansas City podcast, the only podcast that talks about Kansas City, you would know these things.
So the airport has tons of bathrooms all across it, but
I think we talked about how many bathrooms it had.
Yeah, they have a lot of bathrooms, but they have 2 large gender-neutral bathrooms in which there is some outrage because there's some people who don't understand what gender-neutral bathrooms are, and there has been a few incidents relating to the gender-neutral bathrooms with people not understanding that it's gender-neutral. And
they didn't even go for the gender-neutral because I guess that's like a whatever. Like people see that, like a woke buzzword thing. Like they'll freak out, like, oh my God, gender. They're calling it all gender because that's what it is. It's just literally everybody can use this bathroom. It's just a bunch of stalls. That's it.
It's and not the American stalls, the big European style stalls where there's basically no gaps whatsoever. It's like your own individual room.
Yeah, and they're really convenient because aside from the whole gender thing, which doesn't really matter, it's just really nice to be able to, when you're in the airport in a foreign city, you and your significant other can go into the bathroom together, and one of you can watch the luggage, or one of you can do whatever,
or if you have
both
kids.
both of you can change the kids. It's just convenient, especially in an airport. I mean, this isn't like
or if you drank some Dunkin' right by the all gender bathroom and you really need to go. It's right there.
It's just like this is just stupid. Like this is just trying to be upset to be upset.
And we spent so much money. Pete Buttigieg, the Secretary of Transportation, came out for the opening of the airport. He spent more time in the Kansas City area than he did in East Palestine, where a train derailed and it basically poisoned a good part of Ohio. But don't worry, he spent more time in Kansas City for our airport. Not
schmoozing.
Yeah, schmoozing for the new airport.
To be fair, I think Kansas City is nicer than East Palestine.
Yeah, as of right now, we have a nice new airport, and they don't have potable drinking water.
They don't have 400,000 gallons of vinyl chloride.
Yeah. So this is a big deal for the region, having this big of an airport, and there are some hopes that it can get even better.
The largest infrastructure project, I think, in the history of Kansas City.
Yeah.
I think I saw that. Yeah, $1.6 billion.
And there's efforts to make it even bigger because we have a article talking about how we are hoping to land a transatlantic flight. So there's some negotiations going on with some of the airlines, but in order to get the route,
Which does this say which airlines, or is this just?
well, I don't think it says, but we're looking for a non-stop transatlantic flight from Kansas City to someplace in Europe via an airline, which is possible now that those Boeing Dreamliners can fly as far as they can.
Yeah.
But the issue is we have to pay the airline $10 million to secure the slot.
Yeah, and I will say, no slander to the 747. It could probably do it too. This
Yeah.
thing's have like a cross range of like 6,000 miles. You can make it to Iceland. I like the 747 guys. Yeah, $10 million, and they're asking for the state of Kansas to help.
Yeah, the state of Kansas is Mayor Quentin Lucas is trying to get Kansas to contribute $5 million. And hopefully Governor Kelly's government over on the Kansas side is able to provide $5 million.
Which I can see the Kansas legislature
Not doing it.
not doing it because,
It
well,
helped.
it's in Missouri.
It
but
is in
it's
Missouri.
like, guys, they better do it because it's just
I-
like, guys, Kansans use the airport too. Like, we need the... We don't have to pay for the upkeep. We don't have to pay for any of that. We don't get any of the benefits, but we don't have to pay for the upkeep.
I would absolutely be willing to, as a state, give $5 million so we can, have a direct flight to Frankfurt or London.
Munich.
Yeah, Munich.
Yeah.
Uh,
If we could get like Lufthansa to get those 747s into KCI, that would be sick.
isn't it Lufthansa?
I don't know how to say it.
I don't know how to say it either.
I read the word and then I just went for it.
Yeah. Or like basically any European flights we can connect to those cheap, like Ryanair, EasyJet flights that are like $10,
Yeah.
or the train system.
Yeah.
But and the cost of a transatlantic flight is cheaper if you don't have to fly from
there's no
Kansas
connect
City
thing.
to Chicago or to Dallas and then go over.
Yeah, it'd probably shave like at least $200 off of it,
Yeah.
wouldn't it?
If not more. And if you have like an airline credit card, think about the sick bonus points you can generate on the bills to be able to then make your vacation cheaper.
Which I don't want to be a homer, but I would say Kansas City is one of like the up and coming towns in the United States. So it'd be good to get some Euros out here, especially in preparation for
The World
Cup. Yeah.
Yeah, if it takes this much money to do just one slot, I think a plan between the Kansas and Missouri legislators to basically have a quarterly slot buying thing where every quarter we pay one of the airlines to get another slot, so we start developing this airport to be a larger and larger hub, because that benefits the Kansas side as much as the
And maybe we can
Missouri
get
side.
back to competing with Chicago as the regional.
Yeah.
Because I think we can beat the heck out of St. Louis already.
Yeah, no, we
I
can
think
we can smoke St. Louis if we start getting
Yeah.
international flights at least every fiscal quarter.
Which I tangentially related to the airport. Was the airport one of the best infrastructure projects in recent U.S. history? I mean, it completed on time. I don't think it was over budget. It was a major infrastructure revision. And it was like $1 billion project. It wasn't some $5 million thing. It's was this one of the best managed infrastructure projects that's happened recently? Not in the history, but just it just seems like there was no problem with the airport at all
I mean,
during the construction of it.
I would be willing to claim the past 10 years.
That's what I'm saying. Is I think it's been kind of slept on, but it's this thing. I mean, it was done on time.
Yeah.
I don't think I never heard about any major budget. In fact, it might have been slightly under or something. I don't remember any problems with we need to requisition more money, even with the COVID pandemic.
No sources on those claims. This
is just us
ballpark.
pontificating. Yeah.
But if it's 5, 10, 15, 20 million dollars per state, $40 million by a slot every quarter from these airlines, start getting transatlantic, maybe some Asian flights as well.
That'd be nice.
You can be a solid hub if you have a flight to London.
Okay, a direct flight to Japan from the Kansas City airport might be kind of pushing it. That might be hard. Hawaii maybe, but
Hawaii.
that might be hard to do.
Hawaii, and then
I don't think the 777s can make it that far.
and Hawaii, and then maybe
Hawaii would be cool, yeah. Or like
a-
even South America, like somewhere like going to like Rio de
Brazil?
Janeiro. Yeah, like Rio.
Yeah. If there's a flight
Nice.
to Hawaii, a flight to Rio, and then a bunch of flights to Europe.
Like Iceland Air.
Yeah, we can, if you can get a flight out of like, Heathrow, Frankfurt, and then Charles de Gaulle. That's the name of the French airport.
I know
Yeah.
it is. I just no, nobody ever says it. Like I'm used to JFK.
Yeah.
It's just nobody ever says Charles de Gaulle Airport. So it's just
They once had a man trapped in it for decades.
oh, was that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good story. I can't believe they trapped Tom Hanks in an airport for 15 years.
I
Wait, he
can't.
died in the airport, didn't he? The real
No,
guy?
no. He eventually the Iranian, because he was an Iranian refugee from the
okay.
revolution.
Yeah,
They eventually worked out his visa thing, and he was able to like leave, but then he didn't want to leave because he was used to being a celebrity and getting a bunch of free stuff.
Yeah, I did see a picture where he was just kind of like next to a staircase.
Yeah, no, because he had like a
He had, like,
little
a whole
like
thing.
he had like a little like hermit like area,
Yeah.
which and like airport employees would like give him food and like I Heart France T-shirts
Is
and
it-
stuff like that.
Distasteful if you have a guy trapped in your airport for like 35 years to make him into the airport's mascot. Is that distasteful?
Well, I mean, he did sell his likeness to Tom Hanks for a movie,
Yeah, I mean, he probably made a decent chunk of change.
but he didn't want to leave the airport.
I feel like if anything is grounds for like, I'm going to stop that thought. Whatever.
Yeah, should we force a man to be trapped in the Kansas City airport?
I think that'd be fun. Where would you trap him though? Like the
he-
River
he-
Market?
no. He's just not allowed to leave. He can have full access to the behind security areas, but he just can't leave the security area.
I mean, I feel like there are worse places. At least there's like theoretically going to be good food there.
At least it's not the old Kansas City airport.
I feel like you'd get more for your money in like Charles de Gaulle because I'd
Yep.
imagine there's more terminals. There's
Yeah.
more places to go.
Yeah.
KC1 without the like expansion or whatever that I'm assuming is going to happen in the next 30 years. It's kind of, I mean, it's a regional airport.
With all the space that we're going to get when we tear down the old airport, do you think we should save one of the terminals or like
For
move
what?
move it to a park or something as like a like
Could move it to Charles B. Wheeler.
yeah and
It's
have,
already basically a museum.
yeah, and then like may expand the TWA museum, make it a part of like Kansas City Parks and Rec, and like use it as like a community center
You-
/ like
Yeah, you could like
Historic.
turn it into the museum.
Yeah.
Have it as a new building. I mean, I think that they wouldn't do that because it would probably be prohibitively expensive to
yeah.
move. Or
It's
reconstruct.
probably easier just to blow that all up and use it as airport storage.
Probably, yeah.
All right. Well, rest in peace, the brutalist icon of the old Kansas City airport.
Yeah, I guess it was brutalism,
Yeah.
wasn't it? The mosaics.
I did enjoy the pictures of people on the last flight out of the old Kansas City airport where they're just like, there's the only thing that works is the water fountain.
My dad actually the week before, I think he flew out like the 22nd, and he was like, "Yeah, they just gave up. They just gave up. Like there was no food and drink. He said there were birds everywhere. it was starting to leak. It's like the airport knew that it was done and it just gave up. Like they had like "Do not feed the bird" signs out. Because it was just. I did see a picture from, unfortunately, the subreddit because I have been known to go on the subreddit where one of the vendors stopped getting shipments. So they just had Sprite, and that was it. No water, no Coke, just Sprite.
Just Sprite.
Just hundreds of bottles of Sprite. That's all you, because there's already no like food and drink options, and then you just gotta drink Sprite. You're coming from like Chicago on your way to LA, and you have like a layover, which I don't think that's a real
No.
trip, but you just stop in Kansas City for 3 hours and just have to drink Sprite the whole time.
Well, speaking of more regional stuff, and our conversation from earlier.
These are good transitions, by the way.
These are fantastic.
These are 6 segues.
We are cooking with fire on this episode.
Oh yeah.
There's still Crypto Bros,
Oh my god.
and they are harassing a small town in Kansas.
Yeah. What's new?
Not the one we talk about, a
Yeah.
different one.
Not. Yeah, we're taking a break. We're not even going to mention that other town. We went a little bit ham there.
We are shifting gears to another small town of Kansas. So there is this is from the Kansas Reflector, and it is about the town of McLoof, Kansas. And
McLoof.
McLoof.
Sounds like a lisp.
Yeah. There's been We
Did I just click off the article?
Yeah.
I was trying to open up a map.
Yeah, we were gonna read this article,
It's
but
okay.
our seat
No,
decided to click off.
just do it.
So there has been an avalanche of complaints about threats to real quality of life, unresolved issues of land ownership and leasing rights, an oil tank explosion that burned a truck packed with ammunition, and widespread distrust of developers. Even former white-collar criminal compelled the Jefferson County Commission to impose a moratorium of at least 1 year on applications for construction of cryptocurrency processing centers.
That's an easy sell right there. Make that a 20-year moratorium.
Yet, crypto bros want to build a data center. Crypto Colo Center Corp's proposal to boost McLuth's economy by planting a cryptocurrency mine 1/3 of a mile north of the town imploded under pressure from energy companies Sierra Club, McLuth City Council, Jefferson County Redevelopment Office, and most significantly, dozens of area residents. They were aghast. They were aghast anybody would bring into their midst 24 40-foot shipping containers packed with energy-intensive computer servers that churned around the clock on energy drawn from 8 locomotive-sized generators fueled by natural gas pulled right out of the ground. That sounds really inefficient.
I don't even think you can't be making that much profit, right? Like, just burn the petroleum immediately.
Crypto crashed.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. The fact that they're in shipping containers makes me believe that these guys just like tour the country doing this. Like they just go to wherever, like the tax code will let them like just set up and do this. That's got to be how they make a profit, is basically by not paying tax.
Is this like the Simpsons episode with the monorail where you just roll into random towns? And
that's kind of what I'm thinking is, we'll boost your economy. And it's like, how on earth are you going to, how many people are you going to employ in a server farm? Like nobody. I mean,
one security guard.
Like, what is the argument for this boosting the economy? Like, yes, we're going to mine cryptocurrency. We're going to sell it. And like it's untraceable, right? Like how do you make money off of this for the economy? There's no jobs, and apparently there's just tanker fires.
And from the article, all of this is to enable asset transactions. Some financial experts believe the United States ought to ban, as China did last year.
I'm kind of in that boat.
Yeah,
I don't know what concrete benefit cryptocurrency offers the economy, but I do see a lot of downsides.
Well, so cryptocurrency was originally designed so you could buy drugs off of Silk Road, and then some people bought into the Bitcoin idea, and now we're in the mess where there's a bunch of people who lost a bunch of money buying into something that should have been mainly something to buy, drugs off of the internet.
Well, it's just any product where you roll in and then you're burning petroleum to generate electricity to produce a product that is inherently non-existent. It's inefficient. It doesn't really benefit the community around it. It doesn't provide any jobs, and it's wasting natural resources on something that has no tangible and I don't want to get into the whole crypto bro whatever, because I don't care. They're just stupid. There's no argument that you can make.
The only reason that they're being talked about right now is that they're just trying to basically scam a small Kansas town.
Yeah, and it's just like, no. Laura Kelly executive order win. Let's just ban them.
Yep. And from the article, sound pollution tied to business of validating Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency deals on the network would likely be heard for miles in Jefferson County, critics said, despite promises by developers a cloth barrier on a chain link fence and fast-growing plants would muzzle the nuisance. That doesn't sound correct.
We're going to put out a tarp. We're going to it'll stop the sound. We're going to put a tarp. Why don't they just put a cloth chain link fence around the highway if it works that well? Geez.
Outsiders pitching the idea to locals reportedly violated the cardinal rule of development. They recklessly mispronounced McLuth. I'm also not sure if
are we mispronouncing it?
Are we mispronouncing it? I
bet it's McLouth.
McLouth.
I bet it's McLouth. Oh crap! How do you pronounce it? This is making me. Do they have like a pronunciation guide somewhere? Jefferson County, Kansas. It was founded in the 1880s for Amos McLouth. Whatever. Who cares?
All right. Oskaloosa, that's a town in Kansas as well. Oskaloosa is a town near McLouth. Bob and Joy Thayer, speaking on behalf of 4 other Thayers, told Jefferson County Planning and Zoning Commission that the crypto project was an abomination on many levels. We're not one to mince words and play political games, said Bob. I can assure, if this project passes through your hands unscathed, there will be a fallout for many and collapse of a quiet little town we all once knew. For God's sake, if a vehicle loaded with ammunition exploding isn't enough to raise major levels of concern, then nothing is.
Were these guys doing like Waco or something? Like, why did they have a truck filled with ammunition next to the explosive?
Why did they just create a massive bomb?
This is just bizarre. That's kind of like the article's kind of bearing the lead on. It's just like casually talking about this vehicle full of ammunition. Why was it there?
Where did these guys get the money to roll up with a bunch of semi-trailers full of servers and also a truck full of ammunition?
Are they like a PMC or something? Do they have a private like security force?
I don't know.
Like what is what the hell is happening?
And this is from the article. There may be places where people are willing to sell their birthright for a pot of beans, but I trust that Jefferson County is not one of them. If it is not stopped, I will have no choice but to move, said Edith Williams, age 65. Corey Van Nonstead, who lives about 1/2 mile from the proposed data center, said it didn't make much sense for Jefferson County to host a business devoted on validating anonymous crypto exchanges that could be associated with illegal activities, such as human trafficking, drug smuggling, and weapon sales or terrorists. Sentiment shared by the trio resembled that of Russell, Wood, Vaught, Pope, Chrisman, Kinslover, Zuhl, and Rollins families, who submitted written comments in opposition to the Crypto Colo Center's project ahead of the scheduled Monday night meeting to take public comments. Several hours before the meeting, the agenda item was dropped because the company's request for a conditional use permit was withdrawn. The county commission issued a moratorium on new permit requests for cryptocurrency facilities. Okay, so they're shut down. I'm curious, are these guys like can we Google that name real quick?
I'm going to Crypto Colo Center is based in the U.S. has abundance of affordable. Oh my God, they're McLouth, Kansas. Oh my God, I don't think they exist other than this place. I don't think.
What about gas? What do they have gas? We have their own off the grid. Your grid.
This website doesn't work.
Click on team. Nope.
No, they removed the website.
Oh, so
they deleted the website.
They purged everything. Okay.
Wait a second. I can. Well, okay. While you fill the air, I can go on archive.org real quick.
So. This is their address is the McLouth area, and they are talking, or at least what I could see through the link was talking about how natural gas is their off the grid thing, even though it's quite common to use natural gas on the grid. Also, there were concerns from the power company, which was said in the article, so they're off the grid because they'll probably be connected to the power company's grid anyway.
Well, and if you look, I was looking at this earlier. The McLouth. This is part of why I was going to pull up a map earlier. They're not Evergy, which is like the major Kansas, Missouri energy company, basically a monopoly. I didn't say that though. They're like a rural energy co-op, right? Yeah. So I think that they have some. I don't think wind farms, but they have like some natural gas, probably.
Right by Oskaloosa and Tocanoxie. Yeah,
Oskaloosa has the what is it like the energy co-op somewhere. I can't find it anymore, but yeah, so they're not like going up against like a major energy corporation. They're basically just like trying to strong arm some rural. I think that this is basically just like a classism thing.
Yeah,
where they're basically just like, this is just small town Kansas. We can just roll in the middle of a field. No one will care. No one will do anything.
Even though they blew up the field. They blew up the field.
Which, and again, the article doesn't say this, but did they blow up their crypto facilities? Like, I can't imagine it was that close, but
Yeah.
I can't also imagine that the power generating facilities were that far away.
Now,
from there.
what's the address on that? So their website had an address on it.
Yeah.
What
I
is that
Bet
address?
it's
Is
in
that
the town.
is that in the town, or is that where they are supposedly trying to build their thing?
That's a good question. We're gonna get a little bit of.
It is where they're planning on building the thing.
In fact, it doesn't seem like it exists. Right here, you think?
Yeah,
That's
that looks like where they were trying to build the thing.
okay, so it's about probably a couple miles north. It is just on a crossroads in the middle of a field, and there's no actual. Obviously, the Google imagery is not up to date.
Well,
so-
because yeah, I don't think they've been there very long. Also,
Yeah,
they
so-
blew it up. So
yeah, so, but they are good to leave. I am fine with that if they want to just not participate in Kansas anymore.
well, it's not really our decision to tell them if they should leave or not, but they should leave.
Yeah. I'm fine with not having major crypto. If we miss out on that part of the, internet 3.0 economy, crypto is the future of everything. I'm fine with Kansas just being like the Amish or whatever in that regard.
I mean, that existed for 6 months.
Yeah, no, it was always just a scam. Or is it the rug pull? Is that the term they use? In fact, this company, I don't, it barely seems to exist. Like, they have a website. They've completely scrubbed their website. Apparently blowing up a small town is enough for that. Crypto Colo has a different website.
Oh,
But
do they have a different address at the bottom?
yeah, they have a second website, which is,
They have an LLC.
yeah.
Are they registered in the state of Kansas? Okay, we're gonna do some detective work and probably
Yeah, we're not going to do like on air detective work.
because
We'll update you.
We
guys.
probably need to finish the article.
Yeah. Stop order, council vote. Crypto Colo Center, on behalf of Daivate Enterprises, has filed an application for conditional use permit with the goal of converting agricultural land to commercial use on Kansas Highway 92. The initial focus of the data facility would be a 15-acre piece of an 81-acre parcel that had served previously as a location of oil and gas extraction. The drama ripened on February 21st when the Jefferson County Community Development Office sent Crypto Colo's legal counsel a stop order because the company had started putting up structures at the site without a building permit.
The trailers.
Typical. On the next day, the McLouth City Council unanimously recommended the County Planning Commission deny the request for a conditional use permit, a prerequisite for securing a permit to build. So yeah, strong arming.
Yeah.
We don't need a permit. What is it, like 1,000 people?
Well, crypto bros don't like laws anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the reason why they're doing everything where they're doing it is because tax avoidance.
Yeah.
Permit avoidance, because I think crypto's crashed to the point where they have to just every single dollar has to go into just the manufacture, the mining process.
And you can't do this like in Miami anymore.
Yeah, you can't permit. Kathy Ewart, a veterinarian who submitted a lengthy memorandum chronicling the objections to the project, said it had been a challenge to unravel the details of business people involved in the project, puzzle about who owned, leased the property and energy rights, explore twists and turns of courthouse feuding, discern ramifications of energy hogging data centers, and consider what it all meant to Jefferson County residents. This is a, quote, days of our lives, she said, a long-time running soap opera. This is daytime drama. Ewart raised an alarm about the potential damage to property values and inability of taxes paid by developers to cover the county's cost of extended public services. She was apprehensive about the volume of electricity demanded, adequacy of environmental assessments, and an influence of noise pollution on residents' livestock and wildlife. Setting up a major 24 40-foot vans filled with computing equipment in the middle of farming area.
Also, they're going to be running it off of just a generator that runs off of natural gas. So it's going to be
4 generators.
Four industrial natural gas generators powering the electrical system. Not only the heat, but the noise.
I mean, my computer, which is just like a personal computer, draws, I think, like 600 watts of electricity. So multiply that by however many it takes to fill up 24 40-foot containers. That's a healthy chunk of electricity.
Yeah. Also, I mean, data centers are built all the time, which have this level of computing power. But usually they're built in a building with like sound deadening. not
Yeah,
brought in
and
trailers.
air conditioning.
And
That's
air
the other
conditioning.
large thing.
Oh, how are they going to cool this?
I think it's been kind of cold in Kansas. They were probably just, which even then you can't just fan in cold air from the outside. That's not going to be adequate. You have to have,
But
God, that's even more electricity.
but what are you going to do when it's summer and it's 100 degrees Fahrenheit outside?
40-foot trailers with, they have to have, I mean, that's past air conditioning. That's where you have to have a refrigeration unit for that kind of data center.
Yeah.
Like you have to get it to be colder than just cool. But yeah, it's just ridiculous. So back to the article, she said that she noted that Crypto Colo Center's office was initially located at Lot 5, or listed as Lot 5 in Easton, which turned out to be an abandoned mobile home. The registered address was amended to a Wichita rental office, which I believe they scrubbed their website and now it's just a like end of a road.
Yeah.
In McLuth. Like, it's not Wichita anymore. It's just nothing. She said, nothing about this proposed conditional use permit is remotely agricultural in nature, not even the spirit of agriculture. And then Elaine Gazelle, chairwoman of the Sierra Club's Kansas chapter, said the project's long-term solvency was questionable and its energy source ill-conceived. Environmental costs and public health risks would place a, quote, disproportionate burden on the citizens of Jefferson County who will see little, if any, economic benefit. In a twist, Reuben Burton submitted comments about Crypto Colo Center on behalf of himself, his wife, Susan, and her company, Die Vitae Enterprises. Burton, who pled guilty in 2002 in federal court to mail fraud, money laundering, and securities fraud, said Crypto Colo Center shouldn't be approved because its management couldn't be trusted to be, quote, good stewards of the land and project they so desperately wish to place out there. Why do you have to point out the guy got convicted for mail fraud? What does that have to do with the rest of the article?
I don't know, but
talk about a low blow.
Well, I think the securities fraud thing is the more crucial part because
okay, yeah. I guess it's just, I don't know. It seems, yeah, this guy who's a piece of shit, by the way, he said this. Quote from the article: the primary source of all the turmoil and litigation between Die Vitae and Crypto Colo Center is the fact that we differed on how best to utilize this property and the role the company should have in the community, said Burton, who in 2021 still owed $2.7 million in restitution to the victims of his fraud. So even this guy's against him. You know it's got to be bad. Like the Wolf of Wall Street came out and said, hey guys, this isn't a good idea. So meanwhile, Crypto Colo Center chairman Anthony Milaikov filed a lawsuit in Illinois on behalf of Nathan Holdings, controlled by Milaikov, alleging the Burtons and Die Vitae collectively engaged in systematic fraud against Natan for years.
Why
would you file it in Illinois?
Under a different company?
Wait, is Die Vitae an Illinois company? I don't know what this thing is. Oh, they're an oil and gas company from North Carolina.
But
what?
And I like how the third thing is an SEC.gov
for a loan. Ooh, wait. Kim Poor for Grand Rapids, Michigan. Oh my God, this is so many different states.
And it stop making shell companies, people.
Guys, come on. Delaware doesn't need that many LLCs. They got enough. Do you want to do this next one?
Yeah. This section's called Bullets Cooking Off. Opposition to the cryptocurrency construction project had been forming when the explosion rocked the site on December 10th of 2022. Phil Hook, representing ARC Energy Development, featured that catastrophe in a document sent to the County Planning Commission outlining concerns for the Crypto Colo Center application. ARC Energy, a licensed Kansas oil and gas operator, is a subsidiary of ARC Rock Capital, who loaned $3.4 million to KLMKH, the owner of Jefferson County property in the bullseye of the data center. KLMKH is bankrupt, he said, but ARC's energy acquisition included an oil and gas lease situated on the land tied to Crypto Colo Center's application. Hook said the Crypto Colo Center project could expose the community to potentially dangerous levels of hydrogen sulfide gas emissions.
That's fine.
Natural gas fuel requirements of the development were far in excess of what was available supply locked underground, he said. The proposed proximity of the data center and generators to oil and gas operations pose potential hazards which have not been addressed, Hook said. Development sponsors and operators have a questionable track record and capabilities.
So they are just, the data center is just next to the refinery.
Yeah. And
so you have flammable gas next to a bunch of electronics.
Yeah, and that also get really hot.
Yeah. Well, that's a winning combination.
He referenced the afternoon when Crypto Colo Center was likely responsible for operating a tank battery that exploded on the site. Ignition destroyed and burned 2 oil stock tanks, a water truck, and a nearby operator's vehicle, which contained a bounty of live ammunition and delayed extinguishment of the fire. Flames pumped back black smoke into the sky as half a dozen township fire departments and first responders scrambled. Now imagine some of these towns have volunteer fire departments. Imagine how like fucking pissed you would be if like, sorry boss, I need to leave my job. Some crypto bro blew up part of my town.
And it's in the middle of nowhere. There's no fire hydrants out there.
No.
Like
no, they had to tank all that water in.
Yeah, that's how it be. Also, so I do like them describing the guy with the ammunition as an operator. It makes me think like special forces.
No,
like the nearby operator's vehicle. I know it's just like crypto operator, but it's just like it makes me think there's like.
But why do you have so much ammunition in your truck?
Why do you have so much ammunition in your truck, guy?
All right. Hook disputed the conclusion of Max Solenkov, chief executive officer. I butchered that guy's name.
Is it Smetannikov?
That chief executive officer and co-founder of Crypto Colo Center, who reportedly said fires are unfortunately not common on oil leases. Hook said
not uncommon.
Not uncommon. Wait, what? What? Okay.
Fires happen. It's okay.
Fires happen.
Just look at Kuwait.
Yeah. Hook said the opposite was true. Who is the actual expert who works for the company, the oil and gas company. In our opinion, Hook said, the explosion was directly and indirectly due to the operator negligence that could have been avoided were Crypto Colo Center to have employed good oil field practices in managing the site. Brady Jones, who also submitted testimony to the County Planning Commission, said she and her husband bought a farm last year in McLouth, and her husband was teaching at U.S. Army Command and Staff College at Fort Leavenworth, and they were drawn to the beautiful rural landscape reminding them of where they grew up in Alabama. The farm is 0.8 of a mile from the Crypto Colo Center base. The peacefulness of our home is important to us, and my husband has served this amazing country in lands for years that were not so peaceful, Jones said. She said they could hear loading and unloading of shipping containers by Crypto Colo Center and backup alarms of heavy equipment because sound carried right to their property. She assumed the company's generators would grind 24/7 if the facility was operational, and she was outside the day of the explosion and felt the ground shake under her feet. She recalled the smoke and subsequent blasts. I did my research when I first heard their plans, Jones said, hoping to find a positive to their presence. I only found negatives in every community that these data centers were installed. Well, they did blow up part of your town, so they are
small potatoes. Towns blow up all the oil refineries blow up all the time. Come on.
People bring oil, natural gas, a bunch of electronic equipment, and ammunition all to the same place and somehow accidentally blow it up.
I mean, talk about finding a reason to complain. I mean, who amongst us hasn't had their small town community blown up by a crypto bro?
I hear AWS blows up data centers all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's just part of doing business. Those things are volatile.
Anyway, so that's all I think we have for this episode.
I think that's it.
So
I think we got a good chunk of change done.
This has been Clio Talk. I've been Matt.
And I have been RC.
And you can go ahead and get this podcast wherever you get podcasts. You can email us at cliohistorypodcast@gmail.com. And you can follow us on Twitter at cliohistory.
Go ahead and leave like a review or comment or whatever. Any kind of engagement helps, guys. It's okay. You don't have to, but if you feel like it.
And if you like this episode and you want to hear more about Kansas, or we have some new projects coming up soon, stay tuned.
We do.
All right.
Have a good one.
Bye.